My name is Nirmal Joshi. Welcome, everyone, to our podcast for today, Preventing Heart Attacks and Diabetes. And I have the privilege, or we have the privilege, of having several members of the or the leadership of the South Asian Heart Center in California with us to talk about a program that is a very special one, and perhaps the single most important set of things that people can do to prevent heart attacks, which is really the goal. If you think about it, the vast majority of non-communicable diseases, of which heart attacks are an important one, obviously, perhaps the most important one, are potentially preventable because they are diseases of lifestyle. They are diseases that are strongly related to our behaviors, and therefore modifying behaviors in theory can lead to prevention in upwards of 80% of people. The question really is, how do we change behavior? What is the method and principles surrounding changing behavior? And that's why this program is so special, and I have a personal affinity for it because of the fact that what these people have been doing over the last, more than a decade has been exactly that, coaching people to change, and therefore, in that process, preventing heart attacks and numerous other communicable diseases simultaneously. So thank you, all of you, for being here this afternoon, actually morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on where you are. We have folks from, I'm looking at the participants, we have folks from India, we have folks from the West Coast, we have folks from the East Coast, and everywhere in between. So thank you, everyone, for being here. If you have questions along the way, we will take those at the end of the formal presentation, which will be approximately 40 to 45 minutes or so. But feel free to put them in the chat line on the right-hand side of your screen, or if you're on a cell phone, just pulling up the chat function on the cell phone. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce the speakers for today. Ashish Mathur is co-founder and executive director of El Camino Health South Asian Heart Center. Since 2006, he has led the center's mission to prevent diabetes and heart disease in South Asian communities through culturally tailored, science-based lifestyle programs. Ashish developed the Stop Diabetes program, which has received full plus recognition from the CDC's National Diabetes Prevention Program. The center's innovative work has been recognized by national and local leaders and cited by the American Heart Association. Ashish also brings experience as a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and holds degrees from IIT Bombay and USC. Prajakta Wangankar is the coordinator of the Heart Health Coaching Program at the South Asian Heart Center and has been working with the center since 2016. She's a board-certified lifestyle medicine professional, certified health and wellness coach, and has a master's in nutrition and dietetics with a PhD in community nutrition. Prajakta has coached over 500 participants with facilitating sustainable lifestyle changes, and she conducts the diet workshop for the center's participants. Anita Sathe is a trailblazer of sorts whose career bridges statistics, software development, and nearly 20 years of volunteer service as a heart health coach at the South Asian Heart Center. She has coached over 2,000 individuals, helped design the center's electronic tracking system, and create its intensive coach training program. As a founding member of the case management team and architect of coaching policies, Anita has shaped the center's operational excellence. Her accolades, including the Santa Clara County Asian American Hero Award and Marquee Who's Who recognition, reflect her unwavering commitment to community health and lifestyle-based prevention. We also have with us Sandeep Shastri, who has been a participant in the program for several years, I believe 5 or 6 years, and has been the recipient of the coaching process and will be bringing perspectives from the standpoint of someone who has received mentorship of sorts and has changed behavior. We learn more about his experience, both with the program and his with own journey in lifestyle change. So with that, I'm delighted to have this super great panel with us, and I'm going to request Ashish to kick off the presentation. And Alok, if I may request you to please put the presentation up for us.
Sure, Nirmalji, just three admin things. I just want to make sure. First, please everyone keep your video off and keep yourself mute all the time. Third part is this meeting is being recorded. It would be available to you as it is always available afterwards. So just 3 points. Keep your video off, keep yourself mute, ask your questions in the chat. Do not
Thank you,
come
Alok.
out.
Thanks for those housekeeping messages. And Alok, thank you so much for helping us with all the IT support today. We appreciate it. Oh, Ashish, I think.
Hello. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Joshi and Dr. Nirmal Joshi and Dr. Renu Joshi for having us today to talk about the work that we do. And I think the key message that you have given us is to give our presentation with a view to lessons learned. Now, the South Asian Heart Center has been around for 20 years, and we have had the great honor of being on the Brown Heart documentary. So thank you very much for that. I think it's an amazing story that you have kind of put together for all South Asians everywhere in the world to get quick awareness around this particular issue that we are dealing with within the community. And you have built kind of a great cohort. I can see that in the WhatsApp group and the questions that are asked. So there is a lot of interest in understanding how to address this. So my hope today is to talk about the work that we do and talk about the lessons learned over these 20 years to the kind of things that we do now in helping our community combat the twin epidemics of heart disease and diabetes. So next slide, please. So our mission at the South Asian Heart Center is to reduce the high incidence of diabetes and heart attacks within the South Asian community with culturally tailored, science-based and lifestyle-focused services. I know that in the WhatsApp group, there's a great deal of emphasis on the science, and Dr. Joshi's are constantly talking about the science that's out there in terms of prevention, in terms of what's good for us, what's not, etc. And that's what we are based on. And so you'll kind of get to learn a little bit about that work as well. We were established in 2006 as a nonprofit organization, and we still are that. Our hope is to raise awareness and that get people to actually do something and implement a lifestyle program of their own. So next slide, please. This is our team. You're seeing some of the members of our core staff today. Prajakta and Anita are on our health coaching mission as well, and you'll hear from them as we speak. But our other members are there's a dietitian, Erica. Leela is one of our lifestyle medicine experts. Dr. Molina is our medical director. And Danny, who you don't see, meets up with every single participant and onboards them into our programs. Next slide, please. So we've gained over the years a lot of recognition from both healthcare organizations and also government organizations. We are pleased that the American Society for Preventive Cardiology, in their latest framework on evaluating risk in South Asians and actually implementing change and behavior change, have mentioned the South Asian Heart Center as one of the resources for the community. And so has the American Heart Association some time back. Dr. Vivek Murthy, who has been the Surgeon General for the United States, has also visited the South Asian Heart Center and passed on the message. And we've now created multiple partners because of his connection within the community. Next slide. So the program that we have created from the get-go for prevention of heart disease and diabetes, we call it Halt Heart Attacks and Stop Diabetes, is the AIM to Prevent program. And the AIM stands for Assess, Intervene, and Manage, where in the assessment phase, we take a deep look at your risk profile. We call it the ABC risk profile. You've heard a lot about it in the previous broadcasts on brown heart. In the intervention phase, our focus is on educating individuals around the tenets of lifestyle and behavior change, which is around meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. And then finally, in the manage phase, which I think is the most important aspect of our work, is to provide a personal health coach to facilitate the process of that behavior change. So today you'll hear a lot about behavior change and not as much about medications and other screening kind of aspects. So in the first step, which we call assess, we focus on what's called the ABC risk profiling. And we have over these years, because of learning kind of what is important and our own research on the appropriate markers to look at for understanding the risk profile in individuals. So we'll kind of go through that ABC risk profiling, right now. Next slide, please. So the A in the ABC risk profiling stands for atherogenic profile. So these are all the markers that are related to the drivers of arteriosclerosis. This is the buildup of plaque and of plaque stability. Because as we all know, and you might have learned through the process of brown heart, is that most of the heart attacks occur when there is a plaque rupture and blood clot formation in the arterial walls of the heart. So, so that's the A, and it includes the lipid panel. Now, one of the things that we have learned over time is that we had included a lot of lipid markers. They are part of what's called the advanced lipid profile or the advanced cholesterol kind of measurements, where we look at particle size, where we look at density, all of that sort of a thing. But over time, what we have realized is that there are other markers that we need to look at a lot more closely. One of them, of course, is the genetic marker Lp(a), which has been discussed in brown heart extensively. But we also look at ApoB, and now we have written a paper on the importance of looking at the non-HDL to ApoB ratio. So we have included all of those in the atherogenic profile, and that's what we consider as we look at that risk profile. Next slide, please. The second one is the behavioral risk profile, and this is completely missed in almost all of the evaluations that you go through, especially during your annual physical. Here is where we look at behavioral patterns that put you at risk that nobody really evaluates as much. We look at your addictions, we look at and habits, we look at your levels of physical activity, we look at your composition of food and nutrients. We look at your sleeping patterns, we look at your stress management routines, etc. So all of that is considered in the behavioral risk profile. And this is a specific and separate assessment that we do for all individuals who join our programs. And this is a focus on physiologic stability, looking at inflammation as one of the issues and risk markers that is not, typically measured for in most evaluations. And then the C, the next slide, please, is the cardiometabolic risk profile. And the lesson that we have really learned is that both heart disease and diabetes are really stemming from the same cardiometabolic profiles. And for some, it appears as diabetes first, some it appears as heart disease first, some it, simultaneously appears for individuals, etc. And over these years, we are emphasizing cardiometabolic profiles as a way to ascertain risk. As a matter of fact, the paper that we wrote recently talks about 6 markers, and most of the markers for heart disease or arteriosclerosis are focused around the cardiometabolic risk profile, not necessarily the lipid profile. So this is, really, really important. This is where we look at insulin resistance. This is where we look at your glucose regulation in a tighter way. So that's the ABC risk profile, which we do for all individuals at the very beginning. And you get these tests done from your physician. So you just bring those tests to us, and we'll start putting together your ABC risk profile and educating you about all of those risk markers. And once we have that risk profile, we can actually develop a plan for you that focuses on the right set of lifestyle and behavior changes that will help you reduce your risk. Next slide, please. So that's step number 1. The second step is to now focus on the lifestyle behaviors that will help you make change. Now, this is where the most of the lessons learned over these years actually comes in. And of course, we'll have both Anita and Prajakta talk a little bit more about each of those. But what I've done for the purposes of the presentation today, to just shorten, the very basics that we need to know about this, is focusing on meditate, exercise, diet, and sleep, the 4 tenets of our lifestyle platform. And in this, next slide, please. These are evidence-based interventions to reduce risk and promote longevity. Here is the science that we know about lifestyle change. There are 3 studies that we are going to kind of look at. The first one is the Potsdam study, a German study. Can you just hold on for a second, please? Yeah, thank you. Is the Potsdam study, which is a German study, about 20,000 individuals that have been studied, and their lifestyle patterns have been looked at to understand the relationship between that and chronic disease, and actually prevention of chronic disease. Swedish study is a German study that's Swedish study is another study that kind of focuses on looking at the contribution of each of the lifestyle modifications in terms of reducing heart disease. And then the Alameda study, which was done right here in California, in around Berkeley and the Alameda County, was to study individuals over a long period of time to understand what promotes longevity and what reduces risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. And the first thing that all talked about was not smoking. So that is absolutely clear. And so if you don't smoke, don't start. But if you do smoke, the single biggest thing that you can do today is to seriously look at how to reduce your dependence on smoking and then reducing it further. Next slide, please. The second one is regular physical activity. All of them talk about a minimum amount of physical activity during the day. And that really translates to the golden number of 150 minutes of exercise at a minimum of moderately intense exercise. Next bullet, please. The third one consistently talks about maintaining your weight. They do it in terms of different markers for obesity, BMI in the case of the Potsdam study, waist circumference in the case of the Swedish study, and in Alameda County study, it's just about maintaining the right weight. And all of them actually talk about not being obese with a BMI of 30. So there's plenty of leeway in this. But as we know, the BMI standard for South Asians and the marker that we look at is the 23 or less. So it's very, very hard for this community in this weight category. Next bullet, please. Next, all of them talked about having a diet that's full of vegetables and fruits. It's uh, if you look at it, and I know that there is so much science, and Dr. Joshi's have kind of explained in the Brown Heart cohort as well about the need for fruits and vegetables in your diet. And in the Alameda study, they added the breakfast being a daily routine in individuals and eating regularly and not snacking as well. So those were kind of the 4 items that are common in all of the studies. Then the Swedish study and the Alameda study added more to it. So next bullet, please, is around the consumption of alcohol. And you've heard kind of the latest, even on the Surgeon General's front, is to reduce, as much alcohol as you possibly can, bringing it down to zero. Because not only on its effect on chronic disease, but its effect on a whole slew of diseases. And then finally, the Alameda study literally was the only one that added the next bullet, please, a sleep of 7 to 8 hours. And what they found was remarkable. In the Potsdam study, next bullet, please, they found 36 to 93% reduction in chronic disease, 93% for diabetes. If somebody was following all of the 4 habits, a 93% reduction in diabetes, a 36% reduction in cancer. In the Swedish study, they found a 79% lower incidence of heart attacks. And that was actually repeated in the Potsdam study as well. And in the Alameda study, next bullet, please, 11 plus years of longevity and successful aging. And why is longevity important? It is to be able, at least in the United States, to be able to claim as much of your Social Security back. And so, literally, besides leading a life that's unassisted and healthy in all ways. So that's the science, and that's what we tap into as we educate the population. Because once everybody understands the science, then they understand why we might be looking at the goals that we are looking at. And then everyone can actually create a plan for getting there. Next slide, please. So the bottom line from these studies has been that 93% of diabetes is preventable, 81% of heart attacks are also preventable. So why are we waiting? And can we not make a dent in this epidemic right now? The Aim to Prevent program actually creates that sort of a blueprint for all South Asians to kind of follow. Many people can do it on their own, but it's typically hard to implement these simple but lifestyle habits in a structured way going forward. So that's one of the issues that we've kind of learned. The second issue that we have learned about lifestyle is that it's terribly confusing. And it's reflected in the questions that you are kind of asking Dr. Joshi all the time. What is good for me? Is this good, this better, etc.? Because there is so much science, but there's also conflicting science. So it's really, really important to kind of curate that science into the set of things that can be universally followed. Next slide, please. So what we have done for the Mets part is actually simplify it tremendously so people don't have to remember a whole lot. The first pillar is meditation, and that is to practice meditation daily. And we can kind of go into that a lot more in detail, but you can look at a simple mantra, which is the daily practice of restful alertness, meaning you are practicing rest while you are awake. And you do that 2 times 20 minutes daily. On the exercise front, our mantra is regular, varied, and vigorous. So, and in that order. So you first get to regularity in exercise, after which you understand the need to vary that physical activity, and finally getting to vigorous if you can. And a set of goals for everyone to kind of get at, uh, over time. And we find that people have a hard time with just the 150 minutes of exercise per week, which is divided up into all of the days of the week, preferably. Getting to strength training, not being sedentary, and getting to walks after meals, which is different from the popular adage about, resting up after you eat. And we're not talking about running, we're talking about, you know, walking for a little bit, because walking becomes your non-insulin insulin and help with the blood glucose regulation. I'm not going to go over the goals of diet because Prajakta is going to illuminate us on that. And then on the sleep side, it is to kind of get a routine of restful sleep with at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And if you're already sleeping that amount, don't change it. But if you're not, it's really, really important to look at sleep as a lifestyle goal and a behavior change that can be accomplished. And there's a lot of help out there today for it. So that's the science-based education that we do around these 4 pillars. And so I'd like to kind of turn over to Prajakta to talk a lot more about diet, because it's also, an amazing topic that everybody's interested in a lot more. So Prajakta, go ahead.
Thank you, Ashish. Hello, everyone. Let's talk about diet a little bit, okay? Because it's a broad topic, and at the South Asian Heart Center, we really focus, as Ashish mentioned, on simple and sustainable habits, and that applies to our diet recommendations as well. Our mantra for diet is more greens than grains. And if we take just a simple moment to pause and think about the meaning of the word diet, diet simply means what a person eats habitually versus being on an XYZ diet, which is kind of the first thing that comes to our mind. And being on a diet is not sustainable. So really, think about it as a simple way of nourishing ourselves every day and using simple principles to guide us. And therefore, we follow something called as the plate method as an important concept for our participants to practice every day. So if I could have the next slide. All right, this is look how beautiful this poster looks like, right? So a plate method is kind of a simple visual how to framework on how to plate your foods so that you can achieve optimal nutrient balance, improve your metabolism, and also help reduce your risk of heart disease and diabetes. So to look at it simply, think about a 9-inch plate, so like a standard Corelle plate where 50% or half of your plate is to be filled with non-starchy vegetables. 25% or a quarter is to be filled with good quality lean protein. And then the other quarter or the remaining 25% is to be filled with whole intact grains. All right. So, and sometimes it could be like a single pot meal. It may not be a divided up plate like this. So it could be like a khichdi or it could be a pasta. And so the way you plan your meals is that in every single bite that you take, you are encompassing 50% of non-starchy vegetables. There is a component of good quality protein that comes in. And when it comes to the starch, you emphasize more on whole and intact grains. Okay, and the rationale behind this is, the plate method ensures a really good balance of both the macronutrients as well as sustainability and nourishment to give us sufficient micronutrients. And when I mention the macronutrient balance, it refers to carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. I'm hoping that most of you have seen the fantastic diet presentation by Dr. Nirmal and Renu Joshi, where they covered the emphasis on carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And this plate method allows us to achieve just that, so that there is enough protein, fat, and fiber that actually helps to best optimally metabolize the carbohydrates such that they lead to a better blood sugar management. Eating by the plate method actually helps us keep our risk of diabetes at a low, and to achieve a better triglyceride profile, and even to keep our cholesterol values low. So this is the plate method, which is a simple framework and that can be followed every single day. In fact, based on lessons learned from our participants, what we know is that our participants don't kind of enjoy measuring food, or counting or tracking calories. They can do it for, a certain period of time, and after that they want to keep it really simple. So what we use is something called as of the fistful method. So I would like for you to actually try it out with me. Take your hand, make it into a loose fist, and look at the outer volume of the fist until your wrist. Okay, so that's a fistful. This is kind of equivalent to a measuring cup. And the fun part is that this measuring cup goes along with me everywhere. So I don't kind of really have to, carry a measuring cup with me. So looking at the fistful, our participants are actually able to understand how many serving sizes of grains or how many serving sizes of vegetables they need to eat. Just to give you a small example, one fistful of grain is 3 servings already. And so, when they are eating a fistful of rice, our participants know how much dal to pair it up with, or how much vegetable to pair it up with. So, for instance, in this beautiful plate method poster, you can see that, the non-starchy vegetables are formed with a simple sabzi, a little bit of cut salad. The protein is contributed by the dal and the dahi, and the whole grains are contributed by the brown rice. Okay. Next slide, please. These are some beautiful plate method inspirations. These are actual pictures that are shared by our coaches and our participants. Okay. And, again, very simple and sustainable ways to make it work. A beautiful meal like, our idli sambar, which is a favorite tiffin meal, can be made plate method by putting in more vegetables in the sambar, or, including more colorful vegetables on the side. Or look at the plate on the right. If one wants to enjoy white rice occasionally with dal, they can still choose to do so by pairing it up with a lot of vegetables on the side. And especially look at the colors. The more nutrient density, the more rainbow of colors that you can include in your plate, you're sure shot going to be achieving the required micronutrients there as well. And sometimes it may not be possible for us to create elaborate meals like that. If you look at the plate in the middle, it's where there's a whole grain toast. It's actually some leftover beans curry that was poured on a plate that was lined with washed greens. Very simple to put together, and then just pair it up with some whole grain toast. So these are the things that we work with our participants on creating simple and sustainable habits of practicing the plate method. um, and with more and more science, we are actually learning more efficient ways of making this work for you. So now, not only do the proportions matter, but the sequence of eating matters as well. So there's some benefit if you eat your vegetables first, and then move on to eating your proteins and carbohydrates. Next slide, please. Now you may be wondering, where does the ghee go? Does it go on my dal chawal? So to ghee or not to ghee, that is still the question. Because there's of course the science that tells us that ghee is saturated fat, and we need to keep saturated fat below 7% of our total calories. And then there is traditional wisdom, our grandmas, and even in Ayurveda, they say that ghee is to be consumed daily. And then, of course, our personal preferences, where we perhaps might really enjoy the taste of ghee on our dal chawal or our roti. So how do we kind of make sense of these conflicting opinions? There's always a dilemma, and therefore the question there to ask is, what's the problem that you are trying to solve here? If you are somebody who has their LDL under control. Let's say it's, below 100, or even better, below 70. If your triglyceride levels are below 150, then, a small amount of ghee, like half a tablespoon or something, would be perhaps okay for you to have a couple times in a week. But if that is not the case, then your allowance needs to be further managed. So these are kind of the questions that we help our participants decide on. Next slide. All right. With the diet goals, we have this very simple sequence of numbers called as 0, 1, 2, and 12 that we're going to help all of us remember as well. So, plate method and 0, 1 to 12 are kind of these two important concepts that our participants really work with us on. If you can bring up, yeah. Actually, can you bring up all the four things on the slide? Yeah, this is good. Thank you. All right. So 0, 1 to 12. I'm going to talk about the 0 at the end, because that's the only thing that we ask you to consider reducing or avoiding. So we'll start with 1. 1 stands for one fistful of fruit. So one fistful of fresh fruit to be consumed every day. Okay, so what do I eat for a snack? That's kind of the one of the most common questions that we get, and so we encourage our participants to consider a fistful of fruit as the first choice for the snack. A fistful, is kind of like an optimal amount that gives you, your daily dose of micronutrients and antioxidants, and definitely you can eat more fruit than that. It just kind of gives us a good, goal to remember. And, seasonal fruits, more nutrient dense, dark colored fruits. So, for example, blueberries, a cup of blueberries is actually known to help reduce our risk of hypertension and diabetes. So, these are the practical tips that we focus with our participants on. 2 stands for minimum 2 fistfuls of cooked vegetables. Again, a very simple and easy to remember goal. Eat one fist in the morning at lunchtime, eat one fist of cooked vegetables at dinner time. And why cooked? Because cooked allows us to eat much more content of vegetables. And the number 2 actually also helps us remember the plate method, which is based on our mantra of eating more greens than grains, such that you're eating twice the amount of vegetables as compared to the grains. That actually helps us to kind of manage this bias of having a high carbohydrate proportion in typical Indian diets. Okay, the 12 stands for 12 nuts. it's about half an ounce. So, when it comes to nuts, they are really mighty in their small amounts because they can give us all the heart healthy nutrients such as omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, magnesium, etc., to help with our heart health and our brain health as well. But they are also high in calories. So we need to keep a tab on the number. So 12 is again, a good number to help us meet those requirements without going overboard. And then lastly, zero. As I mentioned, zero stands for zero sweetened beverages. That's the only thing that we encourage for you to reduce or to avoid, and that includes added sugar or artificial sweeteners in tea and coffee, which are the primary culprits of sweetened beverages when it comes to our South Asian population. So we work with our participants on simple tips and tricks like these 0, 1 to 12 diet goals. Next slide. Okay, you can bring up all the bullet points on this slide. And then our South Asian community is really curious, very well learned, and very well informed. And they like to try out things. So, there are oftentimes questions that come up like, I switched from meat to plant-based diet, and now I'm eating Impossible Burger, or I switched to oat and almond milk, or I'm now doing oil-free cooking, or I only eat salads for lunch. Is that okay? And the answer to these questions is not really that simple. It depends on each individual and what they are doing holistically in terms of their diet. So, to get answers to some of questions like these, I invite you to join our diet workshops. You can scan this QR code and attend our diet workshop for more in-depth discussion if you'd like. Well, that's it. With that, I invite Anita to talk about our coaching program.
And as Anita comes on and unmutes herself, just a quick time check. We're about 10 after 12.
Thank you, Prajakta. Next slide, please. So let's talk about coaching. It's a managed part of our program. What is a coach? Next slide, please. What is the role of a coach like me or Prajakta? Consider a coach as a facilitator of changes that you want to make, a person who can answer any questions you might have as you embark on your lifestyle journey of meds, meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. All four of them are equally important. Coach will celebrate with you the successes that you have in making changes. And if there are any barriers, coach will help you find the alternatives that will help you succeed. You may be thinking, why do I need a coach? Many of you have heard of Dr. Atul Gawande, a well-known surgeon, author, TED Talk speaker. In his TED Talk, he says, everyone needs a coach. It's not about how good you are now, it's about how good you are going to be that matters. A good coach can provide a more accurate picture of the reality and help instill positive habits in you. Truth is, we all know what we need to do. Dr. Google can tell us very easily, but when it comes to implementation, that's when most people face difficulty. There are some handful of people who are very motivated and disciplined and are able to do it on their own. But most of us, it's very hard journey. Following meds, mantras, and goals daily is challenging for us coaches too. So we walk the same walk as our participants walk. Think about it. If it was just about knowledge, wouldn't all of us be at BMI of 23 or lower, and we will not have any risk factors, or we will not need to take any medications for them? When we look at our own data to see, is coaching helping people? Are we doing the right thing? In 2016, after 10 years of starting the center, when we looked at our own data, we found that participants who kept 4 or more coaching appointments during the 1 year of coaching, the improvements in the risk markers were statistically significant, and they were all across in their lifestyle habits as well as their risk markers. Next slide, please. So let's see, how are our improvements? On the left side, you see improvement in physical activity and vegetable consumption. 58% of the participants improve the physical activity over the period. 63% improve the vegetable consumption. And as Prajakta said earlier, what we ask people to do is minimum of 2 fist sizes of vegetable, but bear in mind that's minimum. When we start eating by plate method, we end up eating a lot more than that possibly. We have had 98.7% event-free survival, which means the people who have connected with us over 6 years, we see that 98.7% of them have not had a heart disease. On the right side, you see the improvements in triglyceride levels. 57% people improved triglycerides, and 62% of the people improved cholesterol ratio, which is non-HDL cholesterol to triglycerides. Next slide, please. In our Stop Diabetes program, what we see is amongst the 200 participants over last several years, 68% lost weight over 1 year. 1 out of 3 participants achieved 5% goal of weight loss, and 7 out of 10 people improved their hemoglobin A1C numbers, which is the average blood glucose. Next. Let me tell you a little bit about our program. So our program is a global telehealth program. It's 100% virtual, and it involves screening, education, and coaching, as Ashish have already talked about it. In the first phase of our program, in the assessment, you get 3 appointments to evaluate your ABC risk profile. First, there is a 40-minute phone call to understand what you are currently doing in each one of these lifestyle modalities, as well as your personal health history, family health history, your height, weight, blood pressure measurements, and a test that you will do with your physician. And once everything is there, then you will meet with the health educator to discuss the lifestyle changes that you want to make. The health educator will go over with you, prepare a report for you, and you will have a 40-minute appointment. So you get 3 appointments there. In the intervene phase, there are 4 workshops and webinar in each one of these MEDS, where we talk to you about the science behind each one of our recommendation. And in the last manage phase, you have 12 coaching appointments with your personal coach that is assigned to you. Next. So basically, this membership includes everything that we have discussed so far. And to add to that, what I would like to say is it's not just a 1-year program. We do connect with all our participants every year thereafter on their anniversary. Just like we go to the physicians to do the routine blood work and consultation, people schedule call with us to it's a lifestyle check once a year, and that call is free with no charge. Next. Now I have a pleasure to introduce Sandeep Shastri, who is a program participant and who would like to talk to you about his experience in our program.
And this is a good time if Alok, if you can just unshare, and then we'll share it. Perfect, and we can get Sandeep on.
That's nice. Thanks, Anita. And so Anita is my coach, and today I'm here to talk about the power of accountability. So today I'm going to talk about, you can live with diabetes and not have heart disease or heart attacks. It is possible. What you all need is structure, awareness, support, and that is all about accountability. So I come from a family, I come from Mumbai, and a family with heart history, both in the mother's side and father's side. And I was always aware of it. And then in 2009, 3 or 4 months into my marriage, I was diagnosed with diabetes. What happened was my wife is a very good cook. She's there here in the call. And so I blame it to her. We Indian men like to blame something, right? So blame the genes, blame the mother, blame the wife. So she was a good cook, and she is a good cook. And so I was diagnosed with diabetes. And like any working professional, I started my medication, and then I started these diets and then exercise, to make lifestyle changes. But what I realized is I was never able to keep up the momentum. I used to lose momentum, and life happens, and you can't do it. Then in 2016, I first got to know through a few friends and family about the South Asian Heart Program. I really didn't take any action, because you said, "Main khud pe karunga." I think this is an Indian audience, so I can break into Hindi, and I'll do it myself. But what happened in 2019 was it was a wake-up call. The diabetes is a silent disease, and slowly I had diabetic neuropathy. And that was a wake-up call. Then I said, hey, I can't do this alone. Let me take action. And that's when I enrolled into the South Asian Heart Program. And so that was, I got to know about the MEDS framework, that is meditate, exercise, diet, and then sleep. And then I got to know the plate method, more grains. And then the best part is about journaling. So my A1C at that time was around 9.6. And I used to have weekly appointments with at that time with Anita to try and get to see what is going on with my body. I used to have a Google spreadsheet, document everything what I did. That is my what I ate with the plate method, what exercise I did, how much time I meditated, and then what was my amount of sleep. So this was an Excel spreadsheet which I did that meticulously. And I'm happy to say that from 9.6, it got reduced to 5.8. And there were also a few battery of tests, which you've seen in the Brown Heart. That is the genetic markers which I took, and the calcium score test, which not many people are aware of. I took that to see my assess my risk profile. So I kind of continued with the program because there's an old saying of a dog's tail. Don't want to be hard on myself, but you remove the stick, the tail comes back. So for me, I needed that stick, and for me, I needed a coach who I'm always accountable to, and that's what I found in Anita. And so I have been here for the last 6 years, still with the program, still participating, recommending. I recommend a lot of friends, but obviously not many people take action. Today, there are around 55 participants. I'm open, to answer questions. And if I were able to convince 5 people to join, I'll be really great. So it's been 6 years now. What has happened is my A1C has been in the normal range. And also what I have seen is that there are times I go off the wire. Life happens, you have downturns and you go out of your diet. And so my A1C goes up. So what we do is I work, I have these monthly meetings with Anita, and we make small goals and baby step goals, and then we assess it every meeting. And then whenever I go, my A1C numbers go up, I get back to journaling. I have the continuous monitor, and then I do my testing every 3 months instead of 6 months, and I get back to the normal range. So this has been a power of accountability. The thing is, every time when I have that meeting with Anita, I need to see what I've done, because some people work that way, is that, you want to give, you don't want to look bad when you're meeting a coach. And this is human psychology. I mean, you want to say that, hey, you've done something. And I've been able to do so. And sometimes when I'm not able to do it, I've been able to tell that. So to sum up, what I see is the lifestyle medicinal experts, South Asian Art is doing a tremendous job. You have access to dietitians like Prajakta, and then you've got Leela, health educator, you've got Erica. So I've met with them every month, and at a very reasonable price, I've been getting great service and great accountability. So what you can't do alone. What I want to leave you all with. Lifestyle changes are hard, but to sustain it is even more harder. And what I also advocate is you have your medication, you work with your doctor, but once you have someone, who's there for you, who's available, and who have all the latest trends, what's going on to advise you, you feel much more comfortable in your whole process. And now I feel that if I have any issues, I can always contact the South Asian Heart team, and they'll be there for me. And recently, someone in my family had issues. I definitely contacted them, and they were really very, very good to get back to them and encourage them. So the South Asian programs, the heart programs, truly harness the power of accountability, and that power has truly changed my life. I'll be happy to take any more questions. So I'll stay around. Anything y'all want, and we could speak there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Can we have a next slide, please? So I encourage each and every one of you to scan this code, or we will also chat out the number and the link in the chat box. To evaluate your ABC risk profile, learn the science of lifestyle, and create a sustainable lifestyle behaviors with us. Next.
Thank you so much, Anita, and thank you so much, Ashish, and your whole team, Prajakta and Sandeep. It has been a wonderful seminar. I mean, I'm sure people have enjoyed it. We did get a lot of questions. And the very first question was the important one: how should people contact you? Which you already said that you will probably give the number and in the chat, and you will also share the number with a QR code. But I think if they Google South Asian Heart Center, they can also find you, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And one of the other question came, if someone has stents and diabetes, can you still help them? Anybody can.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Anybody, it's our program is mainly about primary prevention, but we also help people in the secondary prevention after they have an event or after they are diagnosed with diabetes. So anybody can join, anybody over 18 can join our program.
Yeah.
And we actually encourage everybody 18 and older to join the program, evaluate your risk early in the life, so that the changes that you may have to make to your lifestyle are much minimal at 18 and 19 than in 40s and 50s, because we do develop bad habits over time.
And
Actually,
I'd
if
just
I
like
may
to
add,
make a
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ashish.
Go ahead, Ashish, please.
So, since the whole discussion is around lessons learned, this is the lesson that we have learned from our visits to the community. Number one, when we talk about risk and we talk about this issue, a lot of women will let us know that, my husband needs this. And they kind of forget that they are a South Asian themselves and they are at as much risk. So I would really encourage women to focus on themselves as part of this issue, not just their husbands. Number two, a lot of young people, I mean, in their 30s and 40s, will tell us that, oh, my father needs this or my mother needs this. And this is a young person's issue. And so I also wanted to kind of say, and this is shown so well in the Brown Heart documentary, that we have to address this issue in young, career oriented young individuals, because this affects them, more than anything else. So anyway, that's the learnings from.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashish. And I think I'll just make a quick additional comment before we take the next question. And the comment I have is that um, as physicians and and we have no conflicts of interest related to either this program or any, but I shamelessly advocate for the program because it is so important. The price that you look at is literally minuscule and it's a nonprofit process, by the way. The system is nonprofit. Anita and others volunteer as and I was talking to Anita when I was interviewing her for the Brown Heart. She has volunteered for however many years, I think
16 years.
16 or 16 years. She's given time,
20.
energy, and effort. There you go. So
20 years.
I'm not bashful at all to promote this program because this is not something that anyone has a conflict of interest with. It's barely enough to be able to sustain the program. That's what the cost does. So I have no hesitation with that. The next question is there a handy list of markers that you can suggest that then standard labs in the United States, or for that matter in India, are able to then, you can easily go to a lab and say, hey, here, this is what I need. So I'll see if Ashish or Anita or any one of the panelists have an answer to that.
Yes, as a matter of fact, if I can just share my screen, I'll show it to everybody.
Yes.
I had looked at that.
Yeah.
And we are happy to share that later as well both in the WhatsApp group or otherwise.
And actually, if you look at it, it's no different from the list that Brown Heart already talks about,
Yeah.
but also maybe Dr. Satish at her podcast talked about, the comprehensive screening for individuals. So that's how we break up the ABC risk profile. And I'll share this with Dr. Joshi so that he can share it on the cohort.
So just one question, Ashish, I have on that same thing. So if the markers are not done, if they join your program, is that included in the overall cost of the program? So they'll get it done?
No, so all of these tests are done at their physician's office.
Okay.
So we give them this list anyway, and they go to their physician, get the test done, and then submit them to us.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And the other question is 23 BMI unreal?
And the true answer to that actually is it is absolutely unreal in the sense that 25 is hard enough as it is, right? And so first you tell South Asians that they are at a greater risk and they might have a heart attack. And on top of that, we ask them to kind of go ahead and get your BMI to a 23. It's really, really, really hard, right? And so one thing that I just want to let you know is that there is a science. I mean, of course, the 150 minutes is also part of that science of exercise, right? But when you start looking at meds and start incorporating some of those in a baby steps approach that Sandeep was talking about, is that you'll start seeing the benefits already. So your BMI doesn't have to get to 23 to achieve the benefits of making that change. And that's what we emphasize with individuals. So yeah, 23 is hard. Very few people kind of get to it, but we see a good trend in that change. And that's all that matters.
Thank you. And I'll take the next one, which is first a quick comment on Sandeep's little monologue that he did. I think one part that may or may not have come through is, first of all, thank you, Sandeep, for joining us. It's so critical to have people like you who've gone through the program to be able to be advocates for the program. And the important thing is that many people who have stayed with the program for longer periods of time, 4, 5, 6 years or beyond, will tell you that all of us live in glass houses. it is very difficult to sustain these to Kumu's point about BMI being unreal. Of course, so are behavior changes. Extraordinarily difficult. As humans, we struggle with it. So it's often 3 steps forward and 2 backwards, but it's still 1 step forward. So that's the key
Yeah,
message there.
yeah, I completely second. And it's not that I'm totally perfect and doing fistfuls, but a lot of things, a lot of habits have become subconscious. That when you go to this, even when sometimes, I get mithai, every 2 or 3 months, I get, these mithais from India. My in-laws send all the sambar powder and, some sweets. So that is when, Anita knows, and then I eat a few. She said, okay, eat a few mithais. Now, thanks to Trump, that mithai is not coming. So my numbers are going to be good because I have to pay duty. But even when you eat the sweet, I tend to eat a walnut. Get the walnuts from Costco, mix it up with protein. There are these small techniques which you get from the program, and what I have observed is when it's repeated every time. I've had almost 60 to 70 sessions right now. So, but every time, it's like Anita knows what's going on. And, recently I had my numbers go up. It happened. So someone had a question, when I started off in 2019, I was around 9.6. Within 8 months, I got it down to 5.8. And this was with medication and lifestyle changes. And I dropped 20 pounds. And I was 185 pounds. I came to 165. That has been my base over the last 6 years. Sometimes I go to 170. Recently I did, because there were some circumstances. Again, I'm back to 165. So the thing is, you keep monitoring. I'm an engineer, so I look at the data, and you also, and many people are here, you look at the data, and you also have someone to share it with.
Yeah.
And you not always, it's not about perfection. It is about, making these changes. And, and one thing I have to tell you that, sometimes when you see these diet, you get scared. Oh, see, I'm not deprived anything over the last 6 years. What has changed is my choices have changed. I eat more raw vegetables. I eat more cooked food. My amount of rice is completely reduced. So my choices have changed. And this works in a subconscious level. And that's when most changes, which coaching kind of gets you there. So I'm a big advocate, it's like, I could go on and on. So
Thank
you
you.
have to stop me. Yeah.
Thanks, Sandeep. And the next question is from our smartwatches. We get resting heart rate and VO2 max based on how much our exercise tolerance is. Are these in any way reliable? And if so, we use these as ongoing targets to improve our fitness and reduce risk of cardiovascular events. I think I'm happy to take that. The VO2 max is a wonderful a marker for exercise tolerance and overall physical fitness, by the way. While ideally, it's a complex process of getting it done, and many lifestyle programs are now offering them to formally test them. But the short answer to your question is a practical method through smartwatches is absolutely fine. And I think it's important to note that it's the pattern that's important rather than a single number. So when you begin to do exercise programs, for example, particularly high intensity training that Renu and I have done quite frequently over the course of the last 4 to 5 years, is that you will actually begin to see your VO2 max begin to go up. A HIIT is a wonderful way to make it go up. So 2 take-home messages: smartwatches, while less than perfect, are still fine to monitor VO2 max. Secondly, a trend is more important than a single number. So thank you for asking that. Renu?
And one last question, I think that the team might have to answer. They said, if you're joining today, is there any discount if we join today?
We were actually thinking of raising the price for this.
Yeah, but I'm just looking to see if we missed any. I got all Diwali something regular price. Hang on. Okay, all right. Well, I think we've covered most of the questions, or at least the substantive ones. There is one on sweeteners. I'm very happy to. Yeah, all questions should go in the chat box. So we are not allowing physical questions. So feel free to write on the chat box. What was I going to say? Yeah, there was this question on one of the sweeteners, the monk fruit,
Monk
or
fruit.
one of those. And I think the short answer is many of those natural sweeteners, there is no direct data to date that links them, unlike sweeteners that are artificial, such as either
Aspartame.
equal aspartame and so on. At least the current data doesn't directly link them. That being said, there is still a lingering concern among many that anything that satisfies the satiety for sugar, whether it be artificial sweeteners or otherwise, somehow makes you somewhat more prone to diabetes. Lack of data, however, and I would not say that categorically. So it's a lack of data on that topic. But by and large, they're generally considered pretty safe.
Yeah, and the question is, do we call to join the program? I think you can. You can also go on the website, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
typing
Prajakta
that.
has posted the link for it, or Prajakta
Yeah,
has posted the
yeah.
link for it as well.
So
I think the link was put in. And the question, another one was for Sanjeev, that are you still taking the medications or not? For Sandeep, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So I am taking my medications. So, let me be clear that medications definitely are there, but my medications are very much under control. It's remained the same. And some I've reduced. But what it takes is that, my lifestyle has changed. And I exercise more, I meditate more, I sleep. My sleep patterns have changed. So sometimes, when my sleep patterns last 1 year, I'm having some issues. So then, again, Anita recommended yoga nidra. So these are things like, I do that. And then there are some things techniques where you close your eyes, have deep breaths, and then keep your eyes this way, that way. So I take my health pretty seriously, but I'm not militant about it. You don't become militant about anything. You don't need to be extreme. Just have a balanced view, and it's okay to take medications as long as your numbers are showing right. My cholesterol numbers have always been fine. My A1C has always hovered around the normal range between 6 to 7. And it's okay to take medications. I mean, can I get out of medications and move to 165? That is possible, but I have not got there. But someday I will get there. But as long as you're not rocking the boat, it's good to be there. It's not about perfection. It's just about having your numbers normal. That's my 2 cents about it.
We're at about 12:40. So thank you everyone for participating.
I think
Anita,
Anita
I'll leave a
has-
last
No,
word for
I
you.
think let's answer just one question. Prajakta,
Yeah.
Kumud Gupta said amounts are not enough for hunger. The plate method that we show. So would you comment on it?
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so the plate method, think about only the proportions as of now, and that the amount you can actually have per your hunger level or per your satiety level. So it is about the proportions. You can have seconds as well, as long as you are able to maintain the proportions of grains to vegetables and to protein.
I think
And I do the same thing, Prajakta. When I'm not full, I just keep on eating salad till I become full.
All right.
And there was also a question on just last question, that what if somebody has a desk job? Anita, do you want to make a comment?
Oh, somebody has a desk job, then
I mean, how do you exercise? How do you?
Okay. So somebody has a desk job, then one of the things we can do if we are sitting in front of the computer for long meetings, American Diabetes Association also says breaking sitting includes the doing leg raises under the table, or these days you also get exercise equipments where you can cycle or, have steps under the table. It's a small machine that people keep in the office or at their desk at home. Also, if you have any phone meetings, then it's good to be away from computer and just walk your steps while you are on the phone. You can accrue a lot that way.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't have a time to go out, then one of my participants, actually, I learned from one of my participants that he said, I'm going to set a goal to walk 250 steps an hour. So that way I accrue through the day of 13, 14 hours, I accrue quite a bit of steps.
Yeah, and thank you so much for a wonderful and very illuminating presentation. Thank you to all of the panelists and everyone who asked the questions. I have also posted our WhatsApp group chat. If you are not part of it, feel free to join. We answer regularly questions that you bring up. Also, just the quality of the presentation today was spectacular. I would probably call upon several of the panelists for future podcasts on their own. I've already in the past interviewed several of you, Prajakta. We haven't, and we may get her for a separate podcast. But thank you very much. This was a wonderful experience, and please do consider joining this wonderful program, which is a selfless process over the years that has done a remarkable job, and I personally believe has changed so many lives in the direction of prevention and preventing fatal heart attacks among so many. So thank you all for what you're doing, and thank you for all your volunteership and time. Have a wonderful weekend, the rest of the weekend, and take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Joshi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.